Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? And welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. My name is TJ Jones. Thank you for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Well, Who Dat Nation, the NFC Championship game is over, and we had some time to really digest what happened with our New Orleans Saints. And I got to be honest with you, I'm recording this show on a Tuesday, 2 days after the event took place. And I got to say, I'm just as salty and upset and as bitter as I was watching that game on Sunday afternoon. But there have been some situations that have taken place since this game has been played. First things first, Gail Benson, the owner of the New Orleans Saints, wrote a very heartfelt letter and talking about her disgust and displeasure with the NFL. She talked about how that particular play, that non-called of pass interference and helmet to helmet, it questions the integrity of the league. You also have big-time media people like Peter King of Sports Illustrated. You got Skip Bayless from Undisputed. I mean, you got a lot of people. You even got UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier talking about the fix is in and is the NFL possibly rigged? And I got to be honest with you, man. Even if you're not a fan of the New Orleans Saints, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, man. And not even in just the Saints game. Looking at that New England Patriot game, they had some very questionable calls in that game as well. I have my theories. I think I talked about it on the last podcast. But for those that didn't check it out, I'll say it again. I feel that the NFL wants the big media market like Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Dallas. They want those type of teams to be playing in big games, not small market teams like the Saints. It's ironic to me that the Los Angeles market just got two teams, the Chargers and the Rams, and now both of them are playoff contenders versus when they were playing in much smaller markets. They were not playoff contenders. Hell, they weren't even divisional contenders. Now all of a sudden they world beaters. They're just questionable to me. And I know somebody right now is probably listening to this and saying, TJ, maybe you're blowing this way out of proportion. But I went ahead and I did a little research. That's right, Who Dat Nation. I did some research. I did some research because I didn't want to feel like I was crazy. I want to take y'all back to 1995 when there were two expansion teams that came into the National Football League. Those teams were the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers. In their first year of existence, the Carolina Panthers went 7-9. Jacksonville Jaguars went 4-12. The second year of their existence, both went to their respective conference championships. That's right. The Carolina Panthers went to the NFC Championship game, and the Jacksonville Jaguars went to the AFC Championship game. Now, is that ironic? I don't know. Let's talk about the original Los Angeles Rams. The original Los Angeles Rams, they moved from Los Angeles to St. Louis in 1995. 3 years later, they won the Super Bowl. They won their very first Super Bowl title versus a team that moved from Houston to Tennessee and were in their second year in Tennessee, the Tennessee Titans. Coincidence? I'll let you decide that. But I don't want to bore you with conspiracy theories. That's just how I feel about the situation. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on right now. And let's focus on the man of the hour, in my opinion, which is Roger Goodell. Because Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the National Football League. And Roger Goodell has yet to respond to the controversial call that took place in the NFC Championship. And this is very ironic to me because Roger Goodell is not the type of person that shies away from controversy, and he always seems to be in the public eye, especially when it comes to suspending players for deflated footballs and unjustifiably suspending coaches for Bountygate scandals that he had absolutely no proof about. But I digress. But Roger Goodell should talk because there is a special rule inside of the NFL rule book that is Rule 17, Section 2, Article 1, which states the commissioner has the sole authority to investigate and take appropriate disciplinary and or corrective measures if any club action, non-participant interference, or calamity occurs in an NFL game, which the commissioner deems so extraordinarily unfair or outside the accepted tactics encountered in the professional football, that such action has a major effect on the result of the game. Translation, Roger Goodell has the power to change the outcome of the NFC Championship game. Or he can allow these two teams to play again and let that game decide who is going to the Super Bowl. But that time has ran out because Roger Goodell only has 24 hours to change the outcome of the NFC Championship game. So unfortunately, the New Orleans Saints got screwed, and there's nothing that any of us can do about it. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl because basically what the NFL told me is that the better team did not win. So why in the hell, as a football fan, should I sit up and watch a 3-hour rigged-ass Super Bowl? Honestly, man. And I don't feel like it's sour grapes me saying this at all because you basically told Sean Payton that you messed up. So with this mess up, you basically killed the chance of the New Orleans Saints going to the Super Bowl because make no mistake about it, the Saints were going to the Super Bowl. There was a 98% chance if that referee would have threw that flag that the Saints would have ended up going to the Super Bowl. What you had, Who Dat Nation, was 2 penalties. You had 2 penalties that would allow the Saints to snap the ball at the 3-yard line. Would have been 1st and goal at the 3, okay? A couple things could have happened. The Saints could have ran the ball 3 times and the Rams could have stopped them 3 times and Will Lutz could have trotted out there to kick basically a layup field goal. Or the Saints could have slammed it in, putting themselves up by 7, okay? Putting themselves up by 7, and Jared Goff only had maybe like 15 to 14 seconds to go down the field and try to score a touchdown. Now, we all know that that was a possibility because, I mean, we seen the Minnesota Miracle, but I highly doubt that it would happen this time because the Saints would have been on high alert. So the New Orleans Saints would have ended up going to the Super Bowl. So there you have it. January 20th, 2019, a date which will live in infamy because it will forever be called, in my eyes, the Crescent City Screwjob. And for all those people out there that are hating on the Saints and calling the Saints fan base crybabies and talking about get over it, I would love to know how much logic you would have if this happened to your team. Now, I'm a Saints fan, but at the same time, at the State of the Saints podcast, I am extremely objective, okay? If the Saints play horrible, I'm going to let you know. If something wasn't fair, I'm going to let you know. For example, the Pittsburgh Steelers game, when Alvin Kamara was in the end zone and they called pass interference on Joe Hayden, that was a BS call. That shouldn't have never been called on Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden did not touch Alvin Kamara. It put the ball down on the goal line at the 1. Shouldn't have happened, okay? I'm objective. So if this would have happened to another team and the Saints would have ended up winning, going to the Super Bowl, quite honestly, I would have been saying the same thing in defense to the other team, man. So all these haters out here who talking about get over it, like I said, this didn't happen to your team, so I wouldn't expect you to understand. We in the Who Dat Nation wouldn't expect for you to understand. And for all those people out here that acting like we need to get over it, let's just be honest. A lot of you are Eagles fans. A lot of you are Minnesota Vikings fans. A lot of you are Dallas Cowboy fans. I mean, a lot of you are Falcon fans. So I don't expect for any of you to understand the pain that a member of the Who Dat Nation may feel about that play. And for all of those Atlanta Falcon fans out there that are rejoicing and being happy that another team beat the Saints, which made the Saints not come to Atlanta in the Super Bowl, y'all clapping, y'all happy, y'all saying hooray, you got your mayor on TV looking bad, talking about anybody but the Saints. That shows how pathetic your fan base is. Like, honestly, man, let me take a few minutes and talk about the Atlanta Falcons if I can. The Atlanta Falcons are the worst fan base ever, okay? They are the worst fan base ever. You're talking about a bunch of casual fans, okay? I'm 32 years old. I have never met a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan in my life, ever. It has been well documented that you all basically go to the game to look cute. Y'all got this brand new stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And basically, when the Saints played the Falcons, nobody was there cheering. Nobody at all. People out there going to the little mall inside of there. Girls want to walk past guys and look cute. The other guys want to look cute for the chicks. Y'all don't care nothing about no Atlanta Falcons. And y'all the first ones talking about rise up. And my main question to all you Atlanta Falcon fans out there, when the hell have y'all ever rose up? That shouldn't even be y'all motto. Rise up? Rise up for what? Mediocre quarterback play? Huh? Sorry, red zone efficiency? Can't score when you're down at the goal line? Can't keep offensive coordinator to save your mama life? Secondary cornerbacks and safety couldn't cover with a bed sheet? Blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl? Man, for real, if you're an Atlanta Falcon fan, there ain't nothing you can tell me. Man, if you're an Atlanta Falcon fan, real talk, you shouldn't talk about nobody team. The fact that you had a 25-point lead going into the fourth quarter, you had the Super Bowl in your grasp and you blew it. You can't talk about nobody. Yeah, the Saints gave up a play with 10 seconds left in a divisional round of the playoffs. And yes, the referees screwed the Saints, which caused them not to go to the Super Bowl. But when you're in the Super Bowl and you blow a 25-point lead, you can't talk about nobody. But once again, that shows how pathetic the fan base of Atlanta really is, because you have to count on other teams to do your dirty work. But I do remember the Saints beating the Atlanta Falcons twice, right? But, of course, that's what Atlanta Falcon fans do. They lose to the Saints and pray that a team beat them in the playoffs because they couldn't get the job done themselves. Yeah, I'm petty, and yeah, I said that. But this has been the State of the Saints podcast. Check out the State of the Saints podcast on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Search the State of the Saints podcast. Also, follow the State of the Saints podcast on Twitter. Go to Twitter and follow at SOTS Podcast 8. SOTS Podcast 8. And the State of the Saints podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.com. Till next time, all I have to say is, who dat?